Hey everyone, welcome back to Dank Farrik, and today I've got some wholesome Star Wars what if content for you, and it's all about our favorite Gungan. Today we're going to take a look at him and what would have happened if Jar Jar Binks actually died in the start of episode 1. But before we do that, just so you know, this channel is well on the way to 500 subscribers. That is thanks to you guys. Let's work to get it all the way up to 500, so if you enjoy this and you think you can get behind regular quality Star Wars content, all delivered by myself, then feel free to hit the sub button. Otherwise, let's get right into it. Let's ask, what if Jar Jar Binks died during the start of the occupation by the Trade Federation? Now, a bit of a message before we do begin. This what if won't be as long as the others, especially as I feel the message and point to come to is something that we can do quickly, neatly, and effectively. But without further ado, it's time. Let's talk Jar Jar dying using the flair of storytelling. The Jedi Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi have infiltrated a Trade Federation ship, only to learn of their plans to invade and occupy the Republic world of Naboo in the Kamal sector. Eventually, after being exposed and their ship destroyed, the two Jedi make way onto an invasion craft and sneak down to the planet of Naboo with the occupation force. Not long after, they come across a being in the woodlands of the planet, a Gungan, Jar Jar Binks. But this time, Qui-Gon Jinn wasn't able to aid Jar Jar in time, so the rather awkward Gungan would instead be shot down by a droid patrol, and thus Jar Jar Binks died in the forests of Naboo. But what does this mean for the story? Well, as much as I'd like to tell you that Jar Jar had little to no impact, that's just not true. His death actually shifts things quite a bit, believe it or not. Jar Jar was impactful, at least when he wasn't being clumsy. Let's look at the first one. Invading Naboo and holding it, at least for longer, would have been possible for the Viceroy, his Federation, and the Sith. This is because Jar Jar served as a bridge between the people of Naboo and Gungan leadership. Without him, Boss Nass could not have been found, pledged to, and the alliance between the two people could not have been made as easily, if at all. Remember, it was Jar Jar Binks who vouched for Padme and her people, so the massive battle in the plains of Naboo never would have been, at least not in this time, and not between the Gungans and the droid army. Do remember that before this, the Gungans were figuring out a way to hide. They were in their sacred place doing just that. But now this also means that the droid control ship probably wouldn't have been struck either. The battle pulled the majority of droids away from the capital of Theed for the battle. So if there was no battle, the droids would have filled the city and Theed Palace, making it much harder for the pilots to get in their starships and launch to take on the blockade above and destroy the droid control ship, which won the day. And now we turn the page even further into the future. We look all of the way to when Jar Jar was a representative in the Senate for Naboo. He stood up and pushed for the Supreme Chancellor Palpatine to be given executive action rights, emergency powers. This is what led to the push for the clone army by Palpatine. And you see, Jar Jar was chosen to do this because he wanted what was best. He was the politician for the task. That and his comrades put some guilt on his shoulders to do it. But otherwise, no other official was ready or even willing to make such a bold and drastic step forward, even if it seemingly was for the benefit of the Republic. After all, the Republic isn't built on emergency powers, it's built on democracy. A balanced distribution of power was critical at all times, and also important to the people and for the people. So this emergency power declaration was major, to give all that power to one person. It's something Jar Jar Binks had the guts to do, but the plan worked with Jar Jar's pitch and the backing it had. He convinced the entire Senate. So you see, this also weighed upon the shoulders of a living Jar Jar Binks. And while yes, another politician could have done this, Jar Jar was the only one at the time to do so, and it's that timing that mattered most. It's what led to the Clone Wars as we know it. Just imagine if the clones and the Jedi arriving at Geonosis' arena was an hour off. They could have arrived at the most imperfect moment or a moment too late. But because of Jar Jar doing his pitch when he did, they arrived precisely on time.
Master Windu. How pleasant of you to join us.
This party's over.
So yes, Jar Jar Binks was obnoxious at times, overly comical, or just plain clumsy. Even his companions on board Queen Amidala's ship felt this way toward him. Just take a look at Obi-Wan Kenobi calling him a pathetic life form. But Jar Jar Binks still played a key role in the events of the galaxy, even if his name didn't go down in legend. His death would shift so much of that if he had died in episode 1. I mean, just think of this. Think of a Naboo that could have been held until the foundation of the clone army. Just think of Palpatine's plan to get emergency powers when he did, to be changed to a later date, or maybe not work at all. It would tell a different story because, as I said, timing. Timing is everything, especially on the grand scale of the galaxy far, far away during the age that was the birth of the Clone Wars. But you tell me in the comments, it's been over 20 years since we first met Jar Jar Binks. Do you find him annoying still, or has he become endearing to you? Has he grown on you? Or maybe you could even drop your comment and tell me what you think a longer occupation of Naboo could have meant. Either way, this has been Dank Farrik, and until the next time, stay safe, and may the Force be with you, now and always.